Health officials say that the annual Gridiron Club dinner in Washington, D.C. became a COVID super spreader event with more than 50 high-ranking officials getting infected. The problem was a lot of people took off their masks during the post-dinner orgy.
You can't do that.
Picture.
Can't do that.
Picture really paints a picture.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
A new lawsuit accuses Burger King of falsely advertising their Whoppers as bigger than what people actually get. It's the same accusation made in the case of Women versus Michael Che.
Press Secretary Jen Psaki is reportedly leaving the White House this spring to join MSNBC. Damn, she's still at work and already has her next job lined up. That's as crazy as some of the sketches on season 2 of That Damn Michael Che this summer on HBO Max.
McDonald's has introduced a new sandwich that combines beef, fish, and chicken that they're calling the land, air, and sea. Wait, is air the chicken? Does McDonald's think chickens fly? Or do they think this is a chicken?
By
the way, I don't blame Trump for thinking his tweets have magical power. I mean, just this week, his tweets about China were able to tank the entire stock market. But at some point, if every single person you hired gets indicted, the odds are you had something to do with it. I mean, if all of Santa's elves and all of Santa's reindeer got busted by the feds, you would not expect Santa to tweet, "Totally clear for Christmas. Thank you." President Trump announced today that John Kelly, his chief of staff, is leaving the position at the end of the year because Kelly requires extensive surgery to remove his palm from his face. That's how awful it is to work in the Trump White House, by the way. John Kelly spent 40 years in the Marines. He did 3 tours in Iraq, and he couldn't finish 1 tour with Donald Trump. And memorial services for former President George H.W. Bush were held this week. Many observers said that President Trump looked bored, but I think he was just getting an idea. He was thinking, wait, before this whole Mueller report comes out, I could just fake my own death and escape to the last place anyone would ever look for me, Mexico. And you know Trump will be the first guy to ever fake his own death via tweet. The location of Sex Island, that's a terrible transition. I didn't know that we're going to be back-to-back. That's not, it's a weird badge to get. The location of Sex Island, which is a 4-day drug-fueled event featuring prostitutes and an exclusive resort, has been revealed to be an island off the coast of Trinidad and Tobago. This according to the plane ticket I saw in Shay's hand. Republicans are now planning to use the liberal opposition to Brett Kavanaugh to stoke anger among the GOP base ahead of the midterm elections. But if that doesn't work, they can always fire up their base by saying any of the following things. Zoe Saldana, who stars in the new Avatar movie, has surpassed Scarlett Johansson to become the highest grossing actress of all time. Okay, well, let's see what happens if you include the box office from Scarlett's husband's movies.
Disney announced that its theme parks will start selling vegan food options. Finally, something at Disney where there won't be a line. A flight in China was delayed after a passenger opened an emergency exit door because she wanted a breath of fresh air, which was clearly a lie because we all know China doesn't have fresh air.
And sad news this week as Sean Spicer was eliminated from Dancing with the Stars. I know, it's hard, yeah. President Trump tweeted his support for Spicer saying, "A great try by Sean. We're all proud of you. But Sean, if you're watching, no, we're not." Critics say a new series of coins from the U.S. Mint celebrating great moments in the country's history ignores civil rights. But what about the coin that celebrates where black people actually come from? Ships. Oh my God.
Wow, Colin. I knew you wouldn't like that one.
Police in Florida arrested 2 men and a woman. Good luck guessing which is which. After they were discovered having drunken sex in a Winn-Dixie parking lot. The trio was immediately transported to a Waffle House parking lot. So dumb. Scientists are working to develop advanced ultra-black materials that are so dark they absorb 99% of all light. Oh, sure, but when I try to develop ultra-black material, I'm booed at the Apollo. Wow. Italy will become the first country in the world to make it mandatory for schools to teach children about climate change. Because, as Italian scientists put it, the Earth is about to become a spicy meatball. Inspiring.
I'm proud of the ape. Britain's Prince Andrew announced that after a discussion with King Charles about his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, he will stop using his royal title Duke of York and instead will go by the King of Quinceañeras. I'm proud of that joke. Am I right, Colin?
Okay. I hope not. I don't know. A woman who's been traveling the world says she's gone on 34 first dates in nearly 20 countries. Her secret? She's being sex trafficked. And in non-Oscars news, Republican Congressman Madison Cawthorn, who's the one on the right, said in a recent interview that 70-year-old Republicans invited him to an orgy and did cocaine in front of him. Wait, so you went to the old man orgy? And you thought the weird part was drugs? The Trump International Hotel in Washington, D.C. has been sold for a reported $375 million. Well, I wouldn't say reported, said the IRS. A member of the punk rock group Pussy Riot, which has long protested Vladimir Putin, revealed that she fled the country disguised as a food delivery worker, which explains this notification from DoorDash. A new report finds that as people move into formerly wild areas of Africa, human activity is disrupting chimpanzee culture. Incidentally, chimpanzee culture is also what my grandpa calls hip-hop. Why?
I wouldn't have said that.
And on a basic level, it's just shocking how many alleged pedophiles Trump was friends with. Epstein, Prince Andrew, and Diddy. I mean, that's a lot, you know? I mean, think about your own friend group. You know, how many pedophiles do you know? 1, maybe 2. But Trump's like the Forrest Gump of meeting famous pedophiles.
A new study shows that coronavirus can cause infertility in men. See, so it's not all bad. At a Republican rally in Virginia, attendees recited the national anthem to a flag allegedly used during the Capitol riots. You could tell the flag was from the riots because it was soaked in pepper spray and Mountain Dew Code Red.
An economic joke. Music commentators are noting that upcoming releases from Taylor Swift and Adele signal a shift in the industry from hot girl summer to sad girl autumn. Yeah, which is followed, as always, by Messy Diva Christmas.
A California hiker who was attacked by a mountain lion said that her dog saved her life by jumping to her defense because after the dog, the mountain lion was way too full to eat anything else. It's not.
Senator Mitch McConnell, seen here watching a shelter dog get passed up for adoption. Led a congressional delegation for a surprise visit to Ukraine today. It's weird because usually when McConnell shows up by surprise, it's behind you in the bathroom mirror. Thousands of what are being called penis fish have washed up on the shore of a California beach. Not only that, one kid says he even found one in his mother's nightstand. A man in Kansas was arrested after he was caught having sex with the tailpipe of a car. The sex was described as exhausting. A new study shows that Beaumont, Texas is the least educated city in the country. Oh man, wait until they don't read about this. In the latest episode of Gwyneth Paltrow's new Netflix show Sex, Love, and Goop, a sexologist explained how people can experience full-body orgasms while fully clothed without touching, which is also what happens when your mom watches Bridgerton.
Insiders are also saying that during meetings, President Biden repeatedly uses the F word in conversations. More concerning, the F word he keeps using is forget.
A man in Oregon who had collapsed in his house was saved after his local Domino's Pizza became concerned he hadn't called in his regular order and sent a driver to check on him. It's all part of Domino's new slogan, "You die when we say you die."
Trump advisor Stephen Miller also wants to hold migrants seeking asylum in tent cities. Fun fact, tent city is also what Stephen Miller gets anytime a girl talks to him.
Police in Canada will soon start making people caught drinking and driving listen to Nickelback. So let that be a lesson to all you drunk drivers out there. Make sure the crash kills you. It was announced that Creed singer Scott Stapp will play Frank Sinatra in an upcoming movie. But the good news is Sammy Davis Jr. will be played by Scarlett Johansson.
The weekend update on Michael Che.
I'm calling Joe. Good night.
Residents on Staten Island are upset with the local man who keeps a pet horse in his yard, saying the animal smells and attracts flies. But you know what else smells and attracts flies? Staten Island. Officials at JFK Airport say that a suitcase containing more than 100 pounds of cocaine was left unclaimed at the luggage carousel. For reference, here's what 100 pounds of cocaine looks like.
Lawyers for R. Kelly, who's being held without bail, are complaining that the singer is only allowed to visit with one of his girlfriends at a time. Worse, visiting hours conflict with the schedule of their middle school.
And in this week's presidential porno recap, Trump's personal lawyer Michael Cohen, who's definitely a candidate for Friend of the Year, said that he used funds from his own home equity line to pay $130,000 to silence Stormy Daniels. Can anyone in America imagine taking out a home equity loan to help their friend pay off a porn star? The best part is, you know that right after Cohen settled up with Stormy, Trump saw another porn star and was like, she's pretty cute too. And Cohen's like, dude, I'm going to lose my house.
Police in Florida arrested a man in a local Target for masturbating with an Olaf doll. Worse, he let it go. UFO enthusiasts have declared that Hillary Clinton is the first ET candidate after she pledged to release government files on UFOs and Area 51. Unfortunately, the aliens keep all their files on a private email server. Joe Biden is now the frontrunner and just picked up an endorsement from Michigan's governor only days before the state's primary. And it makes sense that Michigan would love Biden because it kind of looks like a hand trying to touch a lady's hair. Space agency said that the landing of a spacecraft on a comet this week was rougher than they initially thought, with the probe bouncing twice before landing. Only twice? Said Spirit Airlines.
Experts say that by 2026, Disney Plus will surpass Netflix to become the top streaming platform in the world. Not so fast, said Pornhub.
DC Comics announced that the new Superman will be bisexual. Yes, they also announced that the Riddler has always been down for whatever.
By the way, can the media please stop getting us all riled up with headlines like, will porn star bring down president? Is Mueller moving in for the kill? Just stop teasing us if there's no payoff. I'll tell the media the same thing I told my high school girlfriend. I'm totally fine waiting, but then you gotta stop rubbing the outside of my pants.
And I get that it's hard to pronounce a lot of these names. But that's what makes award shows so fun. I mean, just imagine John Travolta as he introduces the wickedly talented DeVito Olajuwon.
Amazon announced that their new Lord of the Rings TV series will be called Rings of Power, though I'm personally more excited for the spin-off Gollum in Paris.
Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky made a televised speech during Sunday's Grammy Awards. It was a heartfelt, impassioned plea to help the people of Ukraine, but missed a opportunity for a legendary G.I. Jane joke. Some military experts have been surprised that despite having superior firepower, the Russian army has been slowed by aging equipment, poor motivation, and inept leadership. So basically, they're the Lakers. A new lawsuit accuses Burger King of falsely advertising their Whoppers as bigger than what people actually get. It's the same accusation made in the case of Women versus Michael Che.
Many of the members of Congress attending the State of the Union wore blue and yellow to show their support for Ukraine, while Kamala Harris wore all brown to do what she's done for the last year, disappear into the background.
After McDonald's announced it would stop doing business in their country, Russians have begun hoarding their sandwiches, including some honorary Russians.
Serena Williams criticized the New York Times after it mistakenly printed a picture of her sister, Venus Williams, and labeled it as Serena. Worse, the Times then sent an apology letter to Wendy Williams.
Intelligence officials are saying that Vladimir Putin is being misinformed by his advisors about how badly the Russian military is performing in Ukraine, which is kind of like Will Smith's agent telling him, "You crushed it at the Oscars." Yesterday, Will Smith resigned from the Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts, and Sciences. He wasn't going to, but then Jada gave him that look.
After the U.S. ban on Russian oil, gas prices hit a record high of $4.30 a gallon, which is so expensive that America, we might have to move back in with our ex. Come on, Iraq. You know we never stop loving you, baby.
If Will Smith had been expelled, he would have joined a small group of people kicked out of the Academy, including Bill Cosby, Roman Polanski, and Harvey Weinstein, or as they're also known, bad boys for life.
Obama returned to the White House for the first time in 5 years, and he jokingly referred to Joe Biden as vice president. Hey, Barack, don't confuse him.
Fans of the hit HBO show Euphoria have been harshly criticizing the series' creator for sexualizing the high school characters. Plus, it's just not accurate. I mean, take it from me, no one has sex in high school. I also really love that the reason they let Will Smith stay in the audience was that they asked Chris Rock and he said it was okay. So now we just ask the victim right after they get hit in the head? Hey, you cool if the guy who just attacked you hangs around for a while? You don't want to make him mad again.
The new HBO show Gilded Age is being praised for highlighting wealthy black families that lived in New York in the late 1800s until they were driven out by wealthy industrialist Colin Jost I.
I think we should just acknowledge that that was one of the craziest things we will ever see in our lives. It's truly like the Super Bowl wardrobe malfunction, but if Janet's nipple slapped Timberlake.
Producers for this year's Oscars announced that presenters will include John Travolta and Lupita Nyong'o, or as Travolta calls her, the wickedly talented Lucretia Barnabas.
Health officials in Washington, D.C. confirmed that a fox that bit a congressman near the Capitol had rabies. Officials suspect the fox contracted rabies when it was bitten by Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Governors in several states, including New Hampshire, Ohio, and Utah, have banned the sale of Russian-made vodka. No word yet on brides.
Honestly, I think a real punishment would be to make Will Smith host next year's Oscars. Because trust me, nothing will make you question your choices in life more than hosting an award show.
An alligator in Florida was photographed swimming with a football in its mouth. Turning now to sports news, Tom Brady is missing. Tuesday was International Women's Day, so hopefully you remember to smile. Germany is now joining the EU to send arms to Ukraine, which is the first time Germany has ramped up military production since that little 6-year gap in their history books.
Justice Jackson was honored Friday at a White House ceremony and said, "We have come a long way toward perfecting our union," which is a direct quote from Ben Affleck's proposal to J-Lo. It was reported that Queen Elizabeth II has permanently moved out of Buckingham Palace, and this is weird, in with John Mayer.